first position we're going to talk about in Woodsball is the point position, or also known as the front position. Okay. The reason why I wanted at the beginning is to pick what kind of player you wanted to be is because once you decide what kind of player you want to play in Woodsball, you can make decisions on your equipment to make yourself a better position at that, okay? Obviously, being a point guy in Woodsball, what are some of the things you know you're going to be doing? One, off the break, you're going to be sprinting to whatever position you want to go to. Second thing is you're going to be moving around a lot when you're out there on the field. Okay, rule number one with being a point guy is never be afraid to drop back, okay? Woodsball games, 30 to 45 minutes. There's nothing that says that just because you made it to that tree and all of a sudden there's a blanket of an ocean of paint coming at you that you can't drop back. There's many times in Woodsball games I'll drop back 5, 6, 7 times in a game. I'll go up there, feel them out, drop back. Move up again, feel them out, drop back. Move up again to another spot, drop back. There's nothing wrong with dropping back in Woodsball. Okay, the games they seem like they go on forever, and you don't do your team any good if you move up to a spot that's really far up the field and then you just get blasted. So never be afraid to drop back when you're playing Woodsball. Now, or playing as a point guy playing Woodsball. Now, I will tell you this, that there's two different ways that you can play point in when you're playing Woods. First way is when you're on your own, okay, which is how usually I play when I'm on my own. The second way is when you're playing with a team. The strategies to both of those are completely different. Usually when I'm playing on my own and I don't have anybody covering me, nobody cares if I get taken out or not, the biggest thing I'm trying to do as playing point is to cause as much chaos and commotion on the other team as possible by going up there and probing them. So I'll push up the right tape really hardcore. Their whole team panics. I drop back. Then I push up a little bit towards the middle and then drop back. Then I'll go back over to the right and then drop back. It causes chaos on the other side of the field when you probe their team like that. Now, you're going to get exhausted. And that's why I say if you're not in shape, a front guy is not going to be a position for you to play. Usually when I'm playing front, I'm playing real aggressive. I mean, I'll sprint, haul ass all up to a tree, get to there, and then drop back right away. And the whole team shifts over to that side. Then I go up the middle, then the whole team shifts over to the middle. Then I drop back. Then I go over there, and I'll sit there and just machine gun their whole ranks and then drop back again. Drives the other team absolutely crazy. So when I'm playing point by myself, the biggest thing I'm trying to do is create as much disorientation and chaos for the other team as possible. Now, with a team, it's a little bit different because you have cover players that can come with you as you're moving up the field. They can be right there with you, covering you. Now, some of the mistakes that a lot of players make when they're trying to play point. One, you need to have a small, lightweight gun, okay? A fully decked out, 5-foot-long Tippmann A5 is not going to do you any good trying to play point, okay? Because first off, one, it's a bigger target. Second thing is that you're going to be running and sprinting. You're going to be sprinting forward, sprinting back, sprinting left, sprinting back. A huge 12-pound A5 is not going to be the right gun for you trying to play an aggressive point man, front man position, okay? You need a very lightweight gun. A gun that as you're looking out there, and all of a sudden 6 people start shooting at you, you can get it in really fast. A nice lightweight hopper, a nice lightweight tank, because basically, fatigue makes cowards out of everybody. So if you're getting tired when you're out there, you're not going to be that good. You're going to get to your tree and say, you know what, screw it. Instead of having to run back, I'm just going to sit here, and all of a sudden all the paint comes in and you get blasted. So another thing too, with shoes. Because you're sprinting, you need to look into getting yourself a good pair of shoes like high-techs or some sort of cleats with ankle protection, okay? You don't want to be out there in just basic Vans shoes or Keds or something like that, okay? You are going to break your ankle if you're trying to sprint in the woods using cheap sneakers, okay? You need sneakers that cover up your ankles to lace your ankles up for ankle support, okay? I've rolled my ankles. I've severely sprained my ankles. I've been in crutches many times because as I've been running, I've rolled my ankle, and that's with shoes with good ankle protection. Something else too, the heavier you are, okay, if you're not one of these thin, knees and elbows type guys, the heavier you are, the more chance you're going to have of ripping tendons and wrecking your ankles if you do not have good ankle support. So you need to be very careful about the kind of ankle support that you have. And something I covered in a previous show, when you're playing front, you never want to run blindly through the woods to where you're going and possibly run yourself trip and fall if you see vines or something like that. But you need to, if you're going to play aggressive front, you need to be at a field that you know what's going on. You understand the terrain. You understand where each foot is going to go, so you do not trip and fall. If you trip and fall out there, you're going to get severely hurt. You're going to break your gun. There's a chance you could be putting yourself in the hospital if you do that. I see one of the worst things I ever saw was on my team. We were playing a scrimmage. There was a team called the Palm Beach Predators, and we were scrimmaging against them. And one of our players, who was a front player, was at a field he never played before. He was running full speed. His foot went down in between two vines, and when he tried to run, his foot stayed in there, and he snapped his shin in half. One of the worst injuries I've ever seen on a paintball field happened to a front player in the woods. So I got to tell you, please be very, very careful. Unless you want to see your shin bones sticking out of your skin like this guy did, I highly recommend you be very careful when you're playing aggressive front. Now, some of the things I'll do when I play aggressive front, when I'm playing point, is I do a thing called the sprint and stop method. When you're running through the woods, it's very disorienting as you're bouncing and as you're running through the woods because the foliage is changing as you're running. So as you're running, you can't really see. So some of the things that I'll do is I'll sprint full speed and then I'll stop. And that way I can sit there and focus on the field for a second and scan it and see, okay, I got 1, 2, 3 people going that way. Boom. And then I'll sprint again, go to the next thing, and then stop. So I do a thing called sprint and stop. That way I can get the speed of pushing up the field really hard, but also I can stop, which allows me to focus. So sprint and stop works amazing as a front player because it's very hard as you're moving to pick up those subtle changes and shadows through the woods to see how many people are going over there. Now, as a front player, one of the best sources of information you can give your team is how many people are going to that side of the field. If you're playing a 20-on-20 and you're doing the sprint and stop, and you notice, okay, you count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people going over to the right. Okay, cool. Now you can relay that information back when you drop back again. Okay, I saw 6 people going off to the right. Okay, well, shoot, that means that there's 14 probably going left if nobody went up the middle. Okay, we're probably going to get pushed on the left. So that kind of real-time information is huge when you're playing Woodsball. But as a front player, that's some of the tips I can recommend is that do the sprint and stop because it works. So sprint, get up to the tree, and then stop. And then look, and then focus down the woods and see who's all going down there. And you can count the people that are going over to that side, which is going to make it a lot easier as you start pushing up there. If you only see 1, 2, 3 people going off to the right, you go up that right-hand side, you take out 1, 2, 3 people right away, then you know it's a real easy sweep to get around behind them. Something else too, as a front player, one of the things that you have to be very careful about is if you're playing very aggressively, it is very common for you to take out everybody on one side and make it back around and end up shooting the other team in the back. One of the things I highly recommend you do is make sure that you hug the tape and the back wire all the way around. You don't want to cut up the field too soon because you're going to get taken out by their back players. You're trying to go behind their back players and shoot them in the back. I see a lot of front players, sometimes what they do is they'll hug the tape, and then they cut inside 60 yards too early and then get mowed by the back players, by the sniper players. So make sure that you go look at the rope that's hanging up there, stay with the rope all the way to the corner and then all the way back over again. And that way you make sure that you don't cut up too soon and then one of those back sniper players that are waiting for you to come up, you just walk right out in front of them. So always hug the rope and then come back and then move your way back up. And something else too as a front player, a lot of players get caught in it, is they have a tendency for whatever reason to put themselves out in the middle of the open. Now, being out in the middle of the open does have its advantages if you have good mid-cover players. Let's say, for instance, you're playing a 10-on-10, you've taken out 8 players, there's 5 of you and 2 of them, you have no idea where they're at. They're in ghillie suits, they're hiding, and you just like, you know what, one of our players is just going to have to be the bait, and it's going to have to flush this guy out. So you're out in the open, you've got your line behind you that's watching, all of a sudden, boom, someone takes you out, all your players know where that guy's at, they take him out, and they do the same thing for the last guy. So when you're out there, you need to make sure that you're bouncing from cover to cover to cover. It's very common that as I'm out there, because sometimes, I'll start getting shot at from nowhere. Let's say, for instance, this, like this is a bunker, okay, right here. Okay, and I'm hiding over here, and then where you're looking, somebody starts shooting at me, okay, because I'm hiding right there, all I got to do is hide over, slide over 2 or 3 feet, and now he can't hit me anymore because now I have cover.